Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will explore the fascinating journey of the origin and evolution of Earth as explained in NCERT Class 11, Geography Chapter 2. So, before starting the origin of Earth, let's start with a beautiful video. Now we have seen in the video about the Nebular Hypothesis and the timeline of the evolution and origin of Earth. So let's study origin of Earth in detail. So many philosophers and scientists have proposed various theories in the past relating to the origin of Earth. And these are called the previous theories because in relatively moving forward with the time, the scientists came and the philosophers came about the theories about the evolution of universe. Earlier theories they gave about is the origin of Earth. So the first person to give and the most popular earliest explanation was of Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant's idea was modified by Laplace and it was published as the Nebular Hypothesis. So we have seen in the video that how nebula was forming. So nebula is nothing but it's just a cloud of gas and dust. So think that this is a cloud. We have gases here, we have dust particles here. So this mixture of gas and dust is basically called a nebula. So now Nebular Hypothesis states that planets were formed from a huge cloud of material called nebula. When this cloud was associated with a young, slowly rotating sun, over the time the material separated and formed planet. So we are aware that this cloud of gas and dust is called nebula. So with the time from this nebula only a young rotating sun was formed. How it was formed? When material came together, it formed a young sun due to the gravity. And now when these material were separated and like this culmination and of dust particle and gases were formed, this led to the formation of planet. So basically what does Nebular Hypothesis state? That when a nebula was present, it started rotating. There was a young, slowly rotating sun and in the disk there were basically this gas and dust cloud from which the planets were further formed. When we talk about the revised Nebular Hypothesis, which was given by Otto Schmidt and Karl, you do not need to remember the names. What does it suggest? So it basically states that sun was surrounded by a solar nebula. It stated that sun was already present and a solar nebula was already present. So this was also the main limitation of the Nebular Hypothesis, that it did not give what is the origin of nebula, that from where this nebula came. But this revised Nebular Hypothesis, this basically assumed that there was a sun and there was a solar nebula. And this nebula was mainly contained of hydrogen, helium and dust particle. So what is this suggesting? That there is this sun and there is this surrounding solar nebula. Nebula is what? It's a gas of dust and cloud. So when dust and gas come together, they form what is called planet. Now when this solar nebula is present, this solar nebula has hydrogen, helium and dust. So but how this led to the formation of basically planets or Earth? So it states that friction and collision between particles created a disc-shaped cloud. Small particles combined through accretion, gradually planets were formed. So what it states that when the particles started to come together, this formed this particle, these two particles mixed and formed this particle. So this is how accretion various particles accreted of gas and dust, and gradually planets were formed. But the later scientific approach states that the scientists have shifted focus from only Earth origin theory to the theory of entire universe. So now we have to study the origin of universe, and we'll be starting with the Big Bang theory. Before starting with it, let's see a video. So now, as we have seen in the video about the Big Bang theory, that how it started. So the basic concept is there was a point of singularity. Now what is this point of singularity? A point of singularity is nothing but it had infinite volume and infinite density. And from this only the whole universe, the whole entire solar system, whatever you can say, whole universe has basically been formed from this single point. So you can consider that there is a single, like a rice, one rice, and from that only the whole universe has been formed. So we have to now study that how this Big Bang theory justifies the origin of universe. So now starting with the Big Bang theory is the most popular theory for the origin of universe. It is also called expanding universe theory. Now what does this expanding universe theory means? Hypothesis means that consider that there is galaxy A here, B here, C here and D here. Now what does this expanding universe state? This expanding universe states that after a huge amount of time, this will be A, this will be B, this will be C, this will be D. That the distance between the galaxies are increasing. The size of galaxy is not increasing, just the distance between them is increasing with the time. That is the expanding universe hypothesis. So Edwin Hubble provided evidence that universe is expanding. As the time passes, galaxies move apart from each other, and the increasing distance between galaxies show that space is expanding. So the universe is expanding because the distance between the galaxies is increasing and not because the galaxy themselves are expanding. So galaxy A is not becoming bigger or B is not becoming bigger. Only the distance between A and B is increasing. That's why it is also called the expanding universe hypothesis. Now we have to study that what are the various stages of formation of this universe as propounded by the Big Bang theory itself. So the first that we have to study is basically the initial phase. So what was present in the initial phase, that is before the Big Bang. So all matter of the universe existing in one place in point of a single ball, that is singular atom. We have seen it is the point of singularity. Now what is the feature of this point of singularity? It had small volume and infinite temperature and density. So very small volume, it had infinite temperature and infinite density. This is quite a difficult thing to understand, but just go with the process and just listen to me and just try to comprehend that there is a single point which is also called a point of singularity. From that a Big Bang explosion occurred and all of the universe and all of the matter and atom have been created from that only. So now from this point of singularity, what happens is a Big Bang event happens. So the tiny ball exploded violently, causing a huge expansion of the universe. The Big Bang occurred around 13.7 billion years ago. The universe is still expanding today. So 13.7 billion ago, in this small point or point of singularity, Big Bang explosion occurred and huge expansion of the universe took place. Now what happened during expansion? That some energy, now because expansion is there, explosion is there, energy was released. Now some part of this energy got converted into matter, and there was a very rapid expansion in the first fraction of second. Later the rate of expansion also slowed down. So very fast expansion happened in the first few seconds, but later it slowed down, and gradually with the time atoms have been formed when the temperature has decreased. So formation of atom, within the first 3 minutes after the Big Bang, atom have been formed. But these atoms could not collide, or these atoms could not come together because the temperature was very much high. But after the temperature reduced, atomic matter was formed because the atoms could come together. So for example, before protons and neutron, electron were formed, then atom was formed, and atoms come together to form matter. This is how the process took place. So then the universe became transparent, only the light could travel through it. So now a quick summary to basically for revision, that is, there was a singular atom, that is point of singularity, then Big Bang came, then rapid expansion occurred, energy converted into matter, first atom within 3 minutes, and then atomic matter was present and transparent universe through which light could travel. The next theory that is in a continuation of this Big Bang theory only is a Hoyle's steady state theory. So now Big Bang theory stated that universe is constantly expanding, but the steady state theory states that universe is not expanding. So it was given by Fred Hoyle, and according to this theory, the universe remains unchanged over time. The universe appears the same at every point and every time, and there is no beginning or end to the universe. So the universe is in a steady state. It does not expand as was stated by the Hubble's Big Bang theory. So it is basically a contradiction that there is no starting point, as Hubble stated, or as it's stated by the Big Bang theory, that there was a point of singularity. Steady state theory states that there was no point of origination of this universe, as there is no beginning or end of the universe. Next, what we have to start is basically a star formation, that is how a star is formed. But before that, let's start with the video. So now we have to understand that how stars and how galaxies were formed. So first, let's understand that how galaxies were formed. So in the early universe, there was the distribution of matter and energy, but it was not even distribution. Now, what does this mean? That at some places in this early universe, there was more distribution of mass and energy, and somewhere there was less. So where there is more mass and energy, there will be more gravitational force, and more matter will be condensed there, more matter will be present there. So these initial density differences gave rise to difference in gravitational forces, and it caused matter to get drawn towards that point. So here, because there is more distribution of matter and energy, so more gravitational pull will be here and more matter will be present here. So this is how galaxies were formed. So for example, in this whole early universe, this point, this point, this point, this point, these have huge matter and energy. So these will be the points where galaxies will be formed. So now we have to understand that what is particularly a galaxy. So galaxy is nothing but it is a conglomeration, or it contains a large number of stars. And galaxies are spread over vast distances that are measured thousands of light years. So basically, what is galaxy? So galaxy is nothing in this particular galaxy. Now suppose that this is a galaxy. It has thousands of number of stars. Now inside a galaxy, when a galaxy starts to form by accumulation of hydrogen gas in form of very large cloud called nebula. Eventually, growing nebula develops localized clumps of gas. These clumps continue to grow into even denser gaseous bodies, giving rise to formation of stars. The formation of star is believed to take place around 5 to 6 billion years ago. So now what happens inside a nebula of the galaxy? That is what we have to look into. Now inside this nebula of a galaxy, it has basically hydrogen gas. Now when inside this, there will be certain points which have more gravitational force inside a galaxy also. So that point will attract more hydrogen gas, and localized clumps of gas will be formed. So for example, this is a galaxy. These all points have more gravitational pull. So clumps of hydrogen gas will be formed in these places. And when these clumps continue to even grow more, these form denser gaseous bodies which are called stars. So why stars basically twinkle? They twinkle because of the energy release when it is through. So star twinkle because hydrogen and helium, there is a nuclear fusion happening there. So the formation of star is believed to take place 5 to 6 billion years ago. So now we have seen that in the early universe, when there was gravitational pull more because matter and energy was present more, at that point galaxies were formed. And within galaxy nebula, where the gravitational pull was more, hydrogen gas, and due to that hydrogen gas, denser gaseous bodies were formed, which led to the formation of star. So this is how stars and galaxies were formed in the early universe. Now we have to understand the formation of planet. How did it happen? So before that, we'll just look upon a video. So as we have already seen in the video, that the basic concept of formation of planet is that this dust particles and grains came together. These form these rock-like structures. When these rock-like structures mixed up and they accumulated together, they formed something that is called planetesimals. And when these planetesimals came together, what is they formed? They formed a planet. So that's a basic idea regarding the formation of planet. It is also through the accreditation model. So now let's study in detail about the formation of planet. So the following are considered to be the stages in the development of planet. So we have already understood that what are stars and how they are formed in the previous slide. So stars are localized lumps of gas within a nebula. And which gas? Mostly hydrogen. The gravitational force within the lumps leads to formation of a core to the gas cloud, and a huge rotating disk of gas and dust develop around the gas core. So now what is this saying? This is saying that this is a star. And now within a star, due to a gravitational force, there is formation of a core. Like this is the core where there is the maximum amount of gravitational force present, and around the core there is a rotating disk of gas and dust. Rotating disk. So now when we study that, okay, within this gas there is a gravitational force where it's maximum, there is a core formation. And because this nebula is rotating, it will lead to creation of a huge rotating disk of gas and dust around the gas core. In the next stage, the gas cloud gets condensed and the matter around the core develops into small rounded objects. These small rounded objects, by the process of cohesion, develop into what is called planetesimal. So now what is it saying that in this rotating disk, when condensation takes place, when the temperature further reduces, it forms certain like small rounded objects. And when due to cohesion or when due to attraction, these small rounded objects come together and they form somewhat a bigger object. It is called planetesimal. Then larger bodies start forming by cohesion, and gravitation interaction causes the material to stick together. Planetesimal are a larger body or smaller bodies. So we have seen that small body became what is called planetesimal. In the final stage, these large number or small planetesimal accrete to form a few large body in the form of planet. When these planetesimals come together, what is they form? They form a planet. So it's very simple. What is the formation of planet? So the formation of planet is basically that we have a star. Now what happens in a star? Due to gravitational pull, there is a core is formed. Now what happens to the rest nebula? Due to rotation, because the nebula is rotating, there is a rotating disk formed. Of what? Of gas and dust. Now what happens in this rotating disk as condensation takes place? Because the temperature reduces with time, there is formation of small rounded objects. When these small rounded objects come together, what is they form? They form planetesimals. When these planetesimals come together, what is they form? They form planet. So this is the basic process of formation of planet. Now what we have to see is evolution of lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere, and what is the origin of life on Earth. So before starting this evolution of lithosphere, first let's look into a video. So now let's understand evolution of lithosphere in detail. We have already seen through very smaller classes that where do we live. So it is a basic concept that where lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere interact, this place is called biosphere, and it is where the life is possible. But these lithosphere, that is land, atmosphere, that is air, and hydrosphere, that is water, these were not originally what is present today. These have also evolved over the time. As if humans have evolved over the time from initially using stone tools to copper to iron, these lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere have also evolved over the time. So let's see the evolution of lithosphere first. You can understand like lithosphere as the land portion, that how the land has evolved or the earth has evolved. So the earth was mostly in a volatile state during its primordial stage. Due to gradual increase in density, the temperature inside has increased. So what does it mean? That when there is an increase in the density, the temperature also increases. So why the temperature increase? Because molecules now come together, and because of this friction, there is some amount of heat is present, which leads to increase in the temperature. As a result, the material inside started getting separate depending upon their densities. So what happened is that when the densities increased, that is particles started to come together, the temperature also increased. Now some parts or some material will have more density and some will have less density. So what happened inside Earth is that higher density material started to get here, then lower, least. This is how the arrangement started to happen. So this allowed heavier material like iron to sink towards the center of Earth and lighter ones to move towards the surface. With passage of time, it cooled further and solidified and condensed into a smaller size. So it further condensed when it cooled. This later led to development of the outer surface in the form of crust. So we all are aware that we have core, mantle and crust. So gradually, with the evolution of settling down of material due to the differentiation in their densities, we have at the last, we have the formation of crust. And crust plus upper mantle is only what is called lithosphere. During the formation of moon also, due to giant impact, the earth was further heated up. This is something that is just easy to remember, that what happened that when moon was formed, also a huge amount of heat was released, that earth was further heated up. It is a process of differentiation that earth forming material got separated into different layers. Starting from surface to the central parts, we have layers like crust, mantle, outer core and inner core. From crust to core, the density of the material increases. So how is the evolution of lithosphere happening? The main process here is basically differentiation. And differentiation on the basis of what? On the basis of density. That the highest density material is present towards the center, then lower, and the density keeps on increasing towards the core, towards the crust. So this is how the evolution of lithosphere has taken place. Because of density, the temperature also increased. Because the density differentiation took place, there was different settlement of the materials inside the Earth's surface. So now let's understand the evolution of atmosphere and hydrosphere, first seeing a video. So now let's understand the evolution of atmosphere and hydrosphere. There are various stages in the evolution of atmosphere and hydrosphere. So the present composition of Earth's atmosphere is what? It's mostly nitrogen and oxygen. We are aware 78% and 21%. But there are three stages to that how present atmosphere and hydrosphere has come. So the first stage is marked by the loss of primordial atmosphere of hydrogen and helium due to stronger solar effect. The early atmosphere with hydrogen and helium is supposed to have stripped off as a result of solar wind. This happened not only in the case of Earth but also in the terrestrial planet, which are supposed to have lost their primordial atmosphere through the impact of solar wind. So let's understand that what happened in the first stage. So consider that this is Earth and this is its atmosphere. It was mostly made of hydrogen and helium. But what happened is that this sun, there is release of particles from sun which is in the form of solar wind. What does the solar wind do? This erupt the atmosphere because it comes towards the atmosphere, and Earth's atmosphere was not strong enough that time. So it come and it erupted the Earth's initial primordial atmosphere that was formed of hydrogen and helium. So Earth was made atmosphere-less. This is not only the case of Earth, but this also happened in most of the terrestrial planets which are supposed to lose their primordial atmosphere. So let's see what happened in the second stage. So in the second stage, the hot interior of the Earth contributed to the evolution of atmosphere. During the cooling of Earth, gas and water vapor were released from the interior solid Earth. This started the evolution of present atmosphere. The early atmosphere largely contained water vapor, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, and very less of free oxygen. The process through which the gases were outpoured are called degassing. Continuous volcanic eruption contributed water vapor and gases to the atmosphere. As Earth cooled down, the water vapor started getting condensed. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere got dissolved in the water, and temperature further decreased, causing more condensation and more rain. The rainwater falling on the Earth got collected in the depression to give rise to ocean. The Earth's ocean are formed around 500 million years from the formation of Earth. This tells you that ocean are old as 4,000 million years. So life began after the formation of oceans. So now let's see that what is happening. So this is Earth. We have already seen in the evolution of lithosphere that there are certain types of materials that are present inside the Earth, like iron, water vapor, these all. Now what happened when the pressure inside the Earth increased? There was outpouring in the form of a volcano. Now, so from when volcano, these gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, nitrogen, these all came out, what happened is that when the temperature reduced, this water vapor start forming into water. and these condense. So for example, think like there is a depression. Now when the temperature further decreased, the condensation took place, and this started falling in the form of rain. When this depression filled, oceans were formed. Let's quickly revise what we have seen in the first two stages. So first happened in the first stage that there was a loss of primordial atmosphere composed of hydrogen and helium due to what? Due to solar effect. And what happened in the second stage? Because various type of gases, water vapor and material was present inside the Earth's surface due to density difference. Then what happened is when the pressure increased, degassing happened in the form of volcano. These material came out. When water vapor came out due to temperature reduction through time, condensation happened. It became water droplet and it came down as rain. The depression got filled, and that is how oceans were formed. Let's look into the third stage now. So finally, the composition of atmosphere was modified by the living world through the process of photosynthesis. So now we all are aware that okay, initially atmosphere didn't have much of oxygen, but how did this oxygen came? So this came through the process of photosynthesis. Around 2500 and to 3000 million years ago, before the present, the process of photosynthesis got evolved. Life was confined to the oceans for a long period of time. Oceans began to have contribution to oxygen through the process of photosynthesis. Eventually, oceans were saturated with oxygen, and oxygen began to flood the atmosphere. So what happened is now that in this, for example, Earth, this is the ocean. Now in this ocean, certain type of bacteria are present. Now what are these bacteria doing? These are doing photosynthesis. So what did they do? They took CO2 and they release O2. So now when this whole portion of ocean was filled, or was O2 saturated, this oxygen got released into the atmosphere, and that is how oxygen got into the atmosphere. So now we have seen the evolution of atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. The last topic that we have to study in this chapter is how the origin of life happened. So before starting that, let's look upon a video. So as we have seen in the video, so origination of life is someone related to a chemical reaction. Now let's understand. So the last phase of evolution of Earth relates to the origin and evolution of life. It is undoubtedly clear that initially the Earth, or even the atmosphere of Earth, was not conducive for the development of life, because there was no oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, helium. So that was not a conducive atmosphere. Modern scientists refer to the origin of life as a kind of chemical reaction, which first generated complex organic molecules and assembled them. So what happened in this chemical reaction? That first they assembled the complex organic molecules. So we know that what are organic and inorganic molecules. Inorganic molecules are basically like nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, but when they form certain type of like proteins, they form organic molecules. This assemblage was such that they could duplicate themselves, converting inanimate matter into living substance, so that they can make this nitrogen into an amino acids, into proteins. The record of life that existed on this planet is in different period is found in the rocks in the form of fossils. So we all are aware that fossils have records of life. The microscopic structure closely relate to present form of blue-green algae have been formed in the geological formation older than 3000 million years. It can be assumed that life began to evolve somewhat around 3800 million years ago. So what happened now is that the life began to be formed in the form of blue-green algae in the oceans around 3000 million years ago, and it can be deducted that 3800 million years ago the life started. So this is how we have understood the evolution of atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and the origination of Earth. Also we have understand. So this is the end of chapter, but let's remember that every day is a new chance to learn something amazing. So keep asking questions, keep trying, and keep growing. And let's see you in the next class. If you have any doubts, you can just post it in the comment section. And if you like the video, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Follow UPSC with AS for more such incredible videos. Thank you.